Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fulton Street Beats. When I got this guitar, this Kramer Baretta Special, I really didn't plan on doing much to it because it plays so good and it's very simplistic. But as with everything, we get a hankering to do something, well, something fun. And we want to do some upgrades. Now we're going to install a Floyd Rose and a locking nut. And who knows what else. But let's start with this because, well, while this works fine, well, the Floyd Rose is just cool, right? And we're going to be using a template to actually make sure that the Floyd Rose is correct. I'll leave a link in the description to the template I'm going to be using. I just had to order another one. So I ordered one from a seller on eBay. They actually have their own website. I'll leave a link. But it makes sure that your cavity is correct. So there's easy ways of doing this. A lot of people, you watch videos and they make it look so difficult. Measuring the measuring of the measuring that they measured. And of course I'm being silly and making a joke about it. Of course we always want to measure and make sure that it's done right. But there's simpler ways of measuring. The important part, well, of course, is your scale length. But the most important measurement is making sure that we, of course, that we have center. That is the most important measurement. And instead of pulling out the tape measure and measuring all over the place, the easiest way to measure and make sure it's precise is, well, with a laser. A laser beam is going to give you the most precise measurement that you're going to ever get. So basically what we're going to do is find center point here on the bridge that's already existing because we know it's already lined up and the strings are running the way they're supposed to. So when we find center point of this bridge in the center between these two strings, we'll know that this is going to be the exact same center point between the two strings on the Floyd Rose when it comes. So as long as it's centered from here to the nut right here where it meets in the center of the nut on the other end, and let me scoot you around here. And if we're center here, and then we are center here, we know that it's centered. So these 2 points are the ones that are the most important when installing a Floyd Rose. And if you do install a Floyd Rose, I do suggest that you get a template because it makes things that much easier and they run right around 20-some bucks. So very simple to do. So let's start taking this apart and we'll tape this up. I'll bring you guys along for the ride. Of course, I'll cut out a lot of parts because they're going to get monotonous, but first thing we're going to do is go over here and we're going to take our strings off. And normally we get in here and polish these frets up, and but honestly they're so nice and already polished pretty well, we probably won't even do that. Okay, so let's get back to this. Okay, so we got that off, and here is our parts inside here. I'm going to pull this back, take some tension off. I do this equally. Why do I use a screwdriver? Well, it's the angle, that's why. Usually I'm using a drill for everything, but I'm just taking a little tension off. Not a lot. There we go. And why am I taking that tension off? Well, so we can pull off these. There we go. There we go. And there we are. And there's our trim. The string's still stuck in here, but we'll worry about that here in a second. Let's pull these out. Ooh, that one's actually stripped. You guys see that? It was stripped in there. So, good thing we're putting a Floyd Rose on. Put some pressure on it and get it up here. Yeah, don't want to back out here. There we go. Pull it up there we go. So we got a stripped hole right there. So if we were going to reuse this, we would have to put some epoxy in there. slight bit and make it bite again. And here is our cheap trem. It works well. I mean, it does work, but it's cheap. Let's pull this pickup. Let's see what we have inside here. Is it? No. Got the greatest routing in here? No. Some pieces of wood chips in here. Still effective. Just not the best. See this? It's just where they screwed it. Did it fast. But the finish on the guitar is really good. So we'll probably shield that before we get done. Now, if this was a DiMarzio, it would be opposite. It would be like that. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. So this is where the Floyd is going to sit. Now, we're going to run into an issue, I can tell you already, because this part where our wiggle stick goes is not going to sit over here far enough. That template is going to actually give me that correct part to cut out also. And then we'll find our center. That's going to sit there, in there like so. And we have to find our spacing up and back. And then we have to drill holes here. And we'll have to drill holes here and here according to the template, which is really nice because it gives you a hole guide of the size to drill and everything, which is cool. So this is just a mock-up, but what we're going to do is try to, if we can, pull this knob off. There we go. Okay. So that is out. Now, we're going to take our pot, remove this. Which wasn't very tight, was it? I'm going to pull this out. There's that. Okay, so there's that. Here's our connections, and look at this. Why is there solder on the... There we go. Okay. And there's our pot. Check that out. And it does have a star nut on it that holds it in place. Really cool. I'm used to seeing that. That's cool, though. And we'll put these on. It is a 500K pot. It's a B500K. So a decent pot. Very cool. Now let's heat up our soldering iron. There's one off. And then get that off of there. That would be fantastic. There we go. Oh, almost. There we go. And two off. And there we are. So now we can pull our pickup out. And there's our two wires right there. Okay. So now we can pull our pickup out of the cavity. There we are. Okay. So we're going to keep these in here. And what I'm going to do is tape these up. I just don't want to lose anything. There we are. Okay. So that's done. Now we get to the important part. Here's our pickup. So Mike, why'd you pull the pickup out? Well, it's because I want a nice flat surface to work with here, because we're going to find center of this guitar. Now, we're not going to go crazy overboard. What we're going to do is, it doesn't have to be, you can do it however you want, but we're going to be using a router on this. So I just want to basically tape up where the router is going to be sitting. Now, depending on the template kit that you get, I didn't order the complete kit. I may. You can actually route the entire thing out for your, not just diving, but for loking also. So, now that that's done, we're going to find out where our hole was originally, which is right here. I'm going to cut this part out. So we're going to kind of pop some holes in here where it was. You got them all. Okay, so the old bridge. Boom, right? The old bridge. Boom. Mike, what are you doing? Well, we know this bridge sat right. So let's just screw it in. 2 screws. Okay, we know everything's lined up here now, okay? So, where's our center mark? Where is the center of this bridge? It is right there. So this is where we get pretty simple. And easy to mark. So, this isn't going to require any measuring right now, and I'm just going to show you right here. We know I can see where center of this bridge is. Center of the bridge is right here in between these 2 screws. Obviously, it's going to be dead center right there. Okay? That's our dead center point. Right there. You can't be any different. It has to be center. So that's going to run right straight up through right there. Now, we can also take another piece of tape and we can put it right here if you like. And you can measure the center of your fretboard, but it isn't going to make a difference. And this is where it isn't going to make a difference. The point, what makes a difference is down here, right here, where it meets the nut. We know the center of the nut is going to be right there. Why? Because it's the center of the nut. So a point from there to right there is center. So we pull these screws out. And we have our center. Ain't gonna move. It can't move. So that's a good thing. There we go. I apologize for the inconvenient camera angles. There we are. Okay. Center. Center. Don't pay attention to screw holes. They mean, even though they're there, they mean nothing other than the center of that screw hole is going to be dead center also. So if you want, if it makes you feel better, you can just go right here and mark that. Okay. That's center. This is center of guitar. You can't mistake it. Okay. So I'm going to take a laser, our laser, handy dandy laser here. And I can line this laser up right there. Right there. We can do it any way we want, actually. But I line my laser up right here on the center line and make sure that it runs all the way down the fretboard. And you can't see it right now, but it's running all the way down the fretboard to the center of the nut. Okay? So this is the important part, that we know where center is. So when we install our Floyd Rose, I have to do no measurement. I don't have to mark for the Floyd Rose, nothing. The only thing I have to do is take, when the template comes, lay the template over this hole and make sure the center of the template is lined up with these 2 centers. So center, center. As far as scale length, we can check that when we put it on, but it should be the same. If it's not the same, we're going to move it either up this way or back this way, but we have our center points to measure from here to here and here to here. So really simple. Anyhow, we lay the template over. I will do my quick cutout over in this area according to what the template is using my router and make it look professional, because we don't want to make it ugly. But we also want to go all the way through so we can access the trem bar when we need to access it. Okay, so next what we are going to do is this shelf right here. This is lower right here. Now we could put a shim here, but that decreases the shelf size where the nut fits. So we obviously cannot do that. So we need a bigger shelf, and then may have to get in there and shim it up afterwards. But our base shelf is going to come down. So we're going to take this. There's a little lip right here. And the reason this is right here is this is a solid straight edge going across my frets. And this is going to give me a guide without cutting into the fretboard for my router. So what I'm going to do now that I have this kind of set straight is I'm going to take some tape just to make sure that this does not move on me. And I'm going to just place some tape around this. And we're just holding this in place so my router does not dig into the spot it's not supposed to be. And you want to make sure that your straight edge is level exactly with the edge of the fretboard. Now, I'm going to do that. And I do have it clamped here. As you can see, we have a clamp on it also. And then we're just going to tape this. And now you can see we don't have any movement. So, just precautions that we take. And now what I'm going to do is actually relieve this clamp where I did it. And I'm going to tape where the clamp is also. The clamp was not tight. We're going to put that there. Now we're going to put the clamp centrally kind of located there and put a little more pressure on it now that we have tape on it. We don't want to mar up our neck. And that's why I did that. So now we have a clamp here. This is all in place. Now we're going to take our DeWalt router with our bit, roller bit, and then put that right there and take it down in small increments to take this down in small increments and then build up, because we don't want to go down too far, but we definitely want to take it down so we have more of a shelf. So let's do that. Okay, so there that is, and I made more of a shelf. I probably took off way more than I should have, but I wanted a nice flat shelf because we can always build up. And we're going to do that, and we'll trim off the edge here, make everything neat and nice. But that's where we're going with that. And then once we get everything trimmed in properly, we'll have that back in there. We'll paint it up nicely and make sure everything fits nice. Okay, so I have my shim that I just did. As you can see, it covers any ugliness. So what we do is place this on. This actually sticks. This is sticking right here, and we have our shim, and we actually have a correct nut height now, which is fantastic. And then I'm going to come back through. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to trim this up to match. And let's grab a nice sharp razor blade, new one for that. And I'm just going to guide this nice sharp razor blade right. And you can see that shim right there. And we'll do the same thing on this other side, which is going to be easier, hopefully. This will sit. This is now the right height, and that is going to sit right there. And then what we have is our truss rod will go right there. And that's just how I do it. I make sure I got a big enough shelf for the nut to sit flush on, or to flush out the headstock so it's not going to bend. So now that we've done that, we can take out our screws. Here, and we can find our center, and we can put some screws in this thing. And that's going to tape right like so, and that's going to tape right like so. That's just going to prevent that from moving anywhere on me. Then I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the right holes. So we have 1, 2, 3 for our locking nut, and these are our center holes, the ones that are going to be drilled out. We'll find some screws and I'll be right back. Okay, and we got our holes drilled, and now we can start our screws. So we'll start 1. We're just gonna snug it. We'll start 2. Just snug. And just snug. Locking nut is now on. Now we can put our retainers on. Now, whether we go with this locking nut or not, that's a different story. This is a mock-up. But as you can see, we should be okay with our string height. I'm going to do a little bit of a test here. We should be okay. Definitely okay. Perfect. Okay. And we can always make new shims. Now, this is a mock-up, but we got our height, so everything's good, is golden right here. So that's cool. A little wider at the top. Make sure round it off nicely, and then boom, just snug them. That look great. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I just use this as a guide. Lightly tap it. Don't drill it out. Take our screw, put our screw in, and then let it self-tap itself. Boom, done. Like I said, and installed locking nut. Oh, and by the way, shielded. There we go. Okay, some of this I didn't get on camera, but we'll start here. So I order these templates from seller on eBay, and they're really nice for setting up a Floyd Rose. You can get these in a set of 2 or 3, and that gets you centered up there pretty good. Now, what you're going to do from there is you can slide this down once you find your center, and you're going to find your scale length, okay? So in this case, you can see that this is routed out back here, which simply will not do. It's not going to give me the correct scale length. So what I do is I find my scale length and I moved that up to here, right there. And as you can see, this is going to be line up perfectly here. And we get that right where it needs to go. I have already drilled out my holes. Now let me show you how that is. See that up there? You can't get it. It looks off from the camera view, but it's not. I assure you, there we go. It's not off. It's right in the center. Okay. There's our marks, our original marks, and then there's that. Okay. So now we know that is correct, and I have already drilled out these holes. Now, you want to step these up. You want to start small and go big. Make sure you use a little center punch. Make it dead center. If you're using, unless you're using a drill press, you should know what I'm talking about. And then you step it up, and you get your bits to go in there. This is the one I used, and then step it up to this one, and we're going to go up one more that is in the drill now, and that tape is my mark of how deep I got to go. I don't want to go too deep because it's not movable right now, but once we get it routed out and the wedges are there, this can move freely where it's supposed to, and you can see that that's good. It looks right now, but I assure you it is not. It does have to come over just a touch, although it does look right. Now, let me show you what I mean here. It looks like that's going to be okay, but it drives it over just enough where it's going to throw things off. And this is the problem right here. You hit right here. But what we're going to do is make sure there's plenty of room and take out what we need to take out. Okay, so we're back over here on the bench, and I have it all tore apart again. I have decided to drop this down a bit so I can do a bit of loking. And so what I'm going to do is just testing my depth here. We're going to route this whole cavity out for the trem itself, reinsert our little bungs in here, and then reinsert the tremolo. It will fit in here properly then. It will have plenty of adjustment up and down, and it will also help me set the action up to the standards that I would like. So let's start this router. I'm going to freehand this and hope that all turns out well. Okay, so some parts came, and we have all new screws and adjusters and everything for the trem. These run around 15 bucks. I'll leave a link in the description. And I needed a new guitar straight edge. Mine was getting a little wonky, so we ordered a new one. I'll also leave a link in the description, provided that it is a decent tool. We want to make sure it's straight and level. I'm sure it is. It's got pretty good reviews, but relatively inexpensive, around $15 if my memory serves me correctly. And there we go. There it is. Now I'm going to check this neck really quick while we're here. So let's do that and see where we're at on this neck exactly. And this neck is almost perfectly straight, but not quite. And you can also check your frets with the other side, which is very cool. So right there, not a lot, just a touch out. So we'll take care of that real quick, and we'll come back and we'll put these screws in the bridge and get this thing set up. Okay, and with a quick turn of the truss rod, very quick, we now have a perfectly straight neck, and we can fine tune whenever we need to go. Yeah, a really nice tool, very light, very, very cool. Hang that on our wall up here. We're gonna start changing out some parts here. Let's dig into this package here and see exactly what we got in here. This should be pretty cool. I'll leave a link in the description. And, hopefully you guys can see this okay. Okay, and there you have it. And we got everything pretty set up, pretty close here. And now we're going to put our blocks in and set up our trem. I'm still going to have to tap in our little do-diggies here. But let's see what we got. Hopefully these fit in. Yes, they do. Okay. So what we got to do now, and let me get you in here. And I don't have a lot of space to work here today, guys. So, okay. So we are going to come here and we're going to tap in our bosses into here, which really shouldn't take much. Maybe even just push in. Who knows? Yeah, they're not going to take much to go in there. Let's see here. Okay, and then I can find something and tap these in the rest of the way. Down a little more. There we go. Now these are both flush. We're going to put our wedges in, and hopefully they're both in here. There's one. There is two. Never hammer on your guitar if the neck's on anything, by the way. So make sure you have your body flush in the back. So now we're going to take this bridge, make sure it's clean. It looks so much better. And there we are. We're going to get that. I'm going to get this kind of flush with the body, so they can see anyhow. Okay, there we are. Now I'm going to flip this over, and we'll hook up our springs. 2 springs with this, and we're going to V these 2 springs in here. Not to the very center, but just to there we are. We're going to flip it back over and make sure everything's good in the wedges. Get the edge where it's supposed to be here. This up, and there we are. And we're still flush. And everything's fitting good. Take a little wedge. Let's set that right there. Okay, and here is the finished product. I'm not going to take you through setting up the Floyd Rose. There's just too many preferences on the way to do it. I have my specific way to do it, and then a lot of people have theirs, and it's really just not worth debating. But here's the trem with all the upgraded parts, and you can see it sits quite nicely. And then I have added a little pointer to the knob here, and we'll go down through. check this out. And we'll go up, and there is our string retainer and locking nut. Now, this retainer is very, very important with this when you're doing this kind of job, because you will need, or you're going to fight your tuning constantly. It's just a pain. It can be done, but it's a pain. So I recommend a string retainer bar. You can get these longer. I put mine up close to the nut. I think it looks pretty cool up here. You can get a longer one and put it down here farther. But I figured I would hit the strings before they started stretching out in the finger pattern out each way, each direction that way. So that's why I did that. The action on this thing is incredibly low. It is 0.040 at the 12th fret. It is a very, very, very low action. Super, super low. This is an amazing playing guitar. Really cool. And it turned out quite nicely. At least I think it did. And it really helps to have the proper templates. It really, really does. So once again, I'll leave a link in the description. And yes, I freehanded out this shape for the trem because a lot of trems are different in their shape. So that's why I did that. They do make a template where you can lay it over and you can actually use your router with that for the entire thing. I decided to trace my tremolo so I was getting a pretty close shape to what I was running, because they do vary sometimes in shape. And this right here, not only can you use this for your neck to line it up like we did, if you flip this over, this will give you a nice, for your cavity in the back, if you're making a cavity in the back, if you do not have a cavity, and you're taking a guitar and turning it into a guitar that's a hardtail and you're turning it into a tremolo system, that's what this is for. So, pretty much get it all. Very, very cool. Alright guys, tell me what you think in the description box below. And how does it play? Well, that'll be coming up soon. I have played it. It is outstanding. It is way better than it was, but we're going to do one more upgrade to this shortly, and we'll cover that in another episode also. Alright guys, thanks for watching Fulton Street Beats. Don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. And remember, it's rock and roll that makes the world go round. Peace.